It's like that.
I have one. That's why we're on here.
Oh,
You're live.
hold on here.
What'd you do?
Oh, it says it lost access to my Facebook, and that's probably because I got locked out. So hold on here. Damn it.
Okay. Is it working on my end?
No, it's not live because wait, are we live?
It says we are.
It says live on the.
Oh no.
Yeah. I can check on my phone here.
Let's see.
Yeah, I'm good on my page.
It's probably just not live on mine. So we can leave it like that if you want for this week.
I don't care.
That's fine. I mean, it'll probably cut down on our viewers.
Yeah, because you get all the viewers.
No, we get about the same, but I can end this and then it'll take me like 2 seconds to do it. Let me see.
Yeah, it's not live on your end.
Let me see if it says now I think we're live on my end.
All right.
Let me see if I feel stupid now, but that's all right. I think it should go because.
Yeah, you're good now.
Am I good now?
Yep.
I don't know why I did that.
Yep, all good.
All right, let me tag the page. It's probably because I got locked out because of that shutdown or whatever they had.
Too many inappropriate comments or what?
What's that?
Too many inappropriate comments or what?
I don't know. No, remember, was that deal during like a couple of weeks ago?
Too much Steeler talk.
I don't.
Hey, you got 2 quarterbacks that equal about a half of one. So
I know.
We'll get into all that. Don't worry.
Oh man, I can't wait for that.
All right, we're gonna start the show here. So we are Beyond the Scoreboard podcast. This is episode number 8, right?
Baby. 8, baby, 8.
Episode number 8. We're back after a week off last week. Couple shout outs before we get started here. We'll shout out AdCraft for our sponsor. I got the t-shirt hanging up in the back. Stenda's wearing his right now.
Got it.
And then we also have something in the works with Fat Leak coming through, and we'll get you updated on that when that happens. Stenda wants to talk about a t-shirt giveaway possibility. You want to go ahead and roll in with that there, JP?
Yeah, hold on here. Let me get the old. I'm trying to tag everybody here. Hopefully I tag the right ones. Yeah, so hey, we're gonna do a giveaway, and so what we'll do for everyone that's on here right now, see there's about 30 viewers. So you guys can win a free t-shirt. This is all you got to do. So we're trying to boost our social media likes and follows on Facebook. So if you go on your personal page, Facebook page, go over to our Beyond the Scoreboard podcast page. And I think you guys probably can figure this out. Go to our page and then go to the far right where it has the 3 little dots. Click that and then click invite your friends to like this page. We'll then send out the invites from your friends list to like our page to be entered in this drawing. All you got to do is click that 3 little dots, click invite your friends, and then screenshot that to either me or Coach Coit. And then at the end of the night, when that's all said and done, next week on Sunday, we'll just do a random, if we have 15 people to do it, we'll do like a random number pick, and the number that's picked will be the winner of the t-shirt. So I think a lot of people have done that before. Just click to invite your friends, screenshot it, send it to me or Coach Coit. And then next Sunday, somebody will be picked to win a brand new t-shirt, and you can look like me or Coach Coit. So
that's a great deal. Sounds good to me.
2 good-looking fellas right there.
That's right. Another shout out real quick. We got to, for all the Iowa listeners out there, Illinois basketball Big Ten tournament champions. So that was an exciting weekend there. I was actually up in Minnesota for the games on Friday and Saturday with Matt Aubrey, Andy Young, and Ryan Snyder, my 3 high school boys. We had a good time watching Illinois basketball, we got to see the Purdue-Wisconsin overtime game as well. So a lot of fun. Shout out Illinois basketball. We'll probably bring them up later too if we get to the tournament talk. But we do have a special guest here. We have Coach Ryan Tompkins from GCMS, Gibson City Melvin Sibley High School, my alma mater. Coach Tompkins, you want to give a quick intro of yourself to the viewers, and then we'll
thanks for having me, guys. Again, I tell you, you said there's about 30 people watching, so is that about a third of or 20% about the normal number? Or?
Well, that's where we're at. No, you're good.
Okay,
You're a
good. I
popular
don't want to
guy.
scare anybody off.
We'll have people that will view it later too. So
Okay.
we'll keep you updated on the views.
I'll drop some money around here at school and get some people
there you
to
go.
follow. So yeah, I'm your basketball coach your senior year, Dut, here at GCMS, my first season there. And I currently am a social studies teacher at Gibson City Melvin Sibley High School and the head boys basketball coach. Just finished year number 22 with that. So I'm also an alum of GCMS, first class in 1994.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, you were a Melvin Sibley Ram, right?
I was a Ram prior to that. And remember those first few years, it was like you would expect, right? You got your dad, of course, a proud Greyhound, and you had a lot of pride in Gibson City, both schools. And so those first years were interesting and a little rocky probably at times. But right now you can't think of any other alternative than what it is, which is it's been great as a consolidation.
Do you coach anything else besides hoops?
No, but actually I back in the day I did Dut's junior year. I was his baseball coach.
Okay.
So we were between Coach Lewis, legend here of baseball, I think Coach Lewis was 20, 21, 22 seasons.
Okay.
He gave it up. Nobody else was really stepping forward for it. I did it. And then as soon as I was hired as head basketball, I said, okay, I'll give that up. But I had 1 year there. Then I've helped with softball in the 7 seasons and baseball other years. I had different roles, but right now it's just basketball.
That's got to be nice.
Yeah, it is. It is. It was, I was helping with softball. I think it was a 7-year run there. And it was really, really fun. And I worked with a lot of good people, but coming off of basketball, it was just kind of hard to find the reboot. So I just felt like it was probably best for everybody if I just stepped away from that and then use this time to kind of catch up.
Yep. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, 22 years. I mean, I knew obviously you were my head coach my senior year, and then that took me back because then that means I've been out of high school for that amount of time too. So, but yeah, long time. We'll get into some of your other accolades and all that a little bit later. First,
that'll be a quick talk.
No, we'll be good. We'll make it work.
Don't be so modest.
Hey,
you guys are all so modest.
I will talk you up. Okay, don't worry.
Good. Thanks.
I might have added.
I'll Venmo you the payment.
There you go. I might have added a couple wins to your total. And all that. If I'm wrong, let me know.
He seems like a money guy. I like this. I like the money thing. Hey, money talk.
Well, Jeremy, if you ever talk to anybody around me, one of the first 3 things they'll say is I never have my wallet on me. So, so I'm not really a money guy.
Quick wallet story before we go. My very first date with my wife, I forgot my wallet at home.
Well, it kind of set the
tone right there.
The standard was like, hey, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah, she gladly paid, and the rest is history.
He's the one.
But yeah,
she paid.
Well, yeah. Well, how else were we going to pay? I didn't have any money with me. I didn't have my wallet.
Wash dishes or something, bro.
Jeez.
Like, come on.
You should offer that up, I guess, like to show the gentleman that you are.
Yeah,
I do the dishes all the time. I'm a dishes guy anyway, so
as am I.
So I've made up for it. I think she might think otherwise, but she actually just commented on here. She said, "I always love to hear him called Dut, Coach."
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, actually,
you can call me Dut. It's fine.
So Tristan, your nephew, is playing an AU team with my son Reed, and so I was taking him over to practice today and brought this up. I said, I'm going to be on Uncle Dut's podcast today. I said, make sure you listen in. So he said he's listened. Tristan's listened to a few.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I know he has. Speaking, I was going to talk about, we'll talk about that later. We're going to get into this GCMS basketball later.
Yeah. Hey, that's the other thing, Jeremy. I'm 100 different things going on up here at one time. So
good.
It goes wherever.
Cool with that, man. No, you keep roll with whatever you want. I love it. I love the freelance.
We're good with whatever you got to do here, Coach. All right. So first topic we're going to get into here, might get a little hot and heavy here, is the NFL free agency talk. So obviously a lot of stuff going on right now throughout the NFL with free agency and trades and stuff. on the last week or so. Really, I think more than I've ever remember seeing, like marquee players going different places and contracts that are like really, really steep and kind of out of some people's element, I think. But first of all, kind of one topic is obviously like Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta for what was it, 180 million for 4 years. He's got like 2 of the top 10 highest free agent contract signings ever. And he's won 0 Super Bowls. You got Baker Mayfield that just got 100 mil from the Bucks. So I guess question would be, and this is JP or Coach T, you can go whatever first here, but what do you feel about like the market and what these guys are getting, and especially the guys that may not have really, I mean, regular season have been good, but may not have won much, and they're still getting these deals.
Coach, you go first. Yeah.
Yeah, and so let's preface this with anybody who knows me knows I'm pretty loyal to the green and gold, and it is hard for me to ever compliment anybody else.
Yeah.
But I really fell in love with Kirk Cousins in the documentary, The Quarterback. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that was great.
And
awesome.
I've always liked him, appreciate him, and somebody who was a low draft pick. And you remember way back, it was he was drafted right into a controversy when the then at the time Redskins drafted somebody in the first round, a quarterback in the first round, and then him like in the fourth. So you had 2 draft picks the same year with Washington, and then he ended up winning the job and everything to this point. And I think sometimes it's a lot of money, right? And so is it who else is out there? If we don't get Kirk Cousins, then are we going to pay, what'd you say it was 180 million?
Yeah, I think it was at 180 if I remember right.
So are you going to pay, Mitch Trubisky 90 million to be your quarterback, or Jimmy G 120 to be your quarterback, when you know that it's like, this is not going to be the answer? But it's crazy because it's like, I mean, how many premier quarterbacks are in the league, would you say? Like top tier?
Maybe 5?
Maybe 5. 3 to 5.
Yeah.
3 to 5, yeah.
And those would be, who those would be. And his Cousins 7, 8.
Yeah, I mean, regular season stat wise, he'd probably top 10, I'd say.
Yeah, and sometimes I think it's unfair, and here I am because I hear this all the time. We've had 2, and I'm part owner, so I can say we've had I own 1 share of the Green Bay Packers. But in the old 30 seasons of Hall of Fame quarterbacks, when we won 2 Super Bowls, and you should have done so much more. But it's hard. It's hard, especially when Tom Brady's lurking out there and all that. So I don't know if overpay if you have it, and it's crazy, but it's a lot of money. And I'm kind of actually happy for Baker Mayfield. He's had to, take on a lot of heat. Wasn't he the first overall pick his year?
Yeah.
Baker was. Oh yeah, he was. Yeah. That was in 18, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then had a good year there with Cleveland, and then got hurt, and everything else just fell apart. And so it's nice to see him bounce back and get some money. But I don't know. Cousins also is 35. Is he 35 years old?
35, yeah.
He's mid-30s, yeah.
Yeah.
And he got a 4-year deal.
Yeah.
So,
and it's different, right? With the protection rules, they can play a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like both of those guys you mentioned, but and here's the other part. They're definitely not spending money on running backs.
No. So
teams can, that's what's probably widened the paychecks of these quarterbacks a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good point, because Coach Coy's got here the market for the positions, and the running back position now. Why would you want to be a running back? They're not gonna pay you. They're not gonna give you the guaranteed money. You're basically just, I hate saying this, you're the workhorse for them, and then they just deal you after 3 or 4 years. I mean, I'll use out of this one the market. The quarterback, I think it's so overinflated.
Yeah.
You're paying Kirk Cousins, which I do like him, Coach. I'm with you, but he's played 12 years and he's won 1 playoff game.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I mean, yes, statistically in the regular season, that's great, but you've won 1 playoff game, and he's got like the most lucrative deals, guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Washington and Minnesota were all fully guaranteed. I mean, you're paying a guy that he's already showed you that he doesn't win when it matters.
Yeah, he has that prime time game stat too, still, right?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
even in like premier games in the regular season hasn't done well.
No.
And so yeah, I totally understand and agree with what you're saying. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. I would want to divvy that out to, like you said, the running backs or your offensive line. Because I mean, to think about him getting another deal, $180 million to go play for the Falcons. He said for the first two teams he wants to retire there. That clearly doesn't happen. I think the only thing I can think of about him is that he's just a great team player. Like they must love him in the locker room.
Yeah, and I would think that I would agree with that. He has to be that way, I guess. And then obviously Minnesota wasn't going to pay it, but what are they going to get?
They signed Sam Darnold.
Yeah, and they did pick him up, but
and they
that's not your answer.
I think. Well, I don't know. I'm not a GM, but they just traded for the 23rd pick, right? Or they got the 11th and the 23rd.
Yep.
A lot of people are saying they're going to put that in a package to move up to try to get a quarterback, and maybe I don't know who they would trade with though, because Bears obviously are going to take quarterback now. Washington probably is going to take a quarterback.
Yep.
And Patriots might also. So they're your top
all
three.
Going to have to. Yeah, they'll have a choice.
Yeah. So I don't know. Who knows? But I know Sam Darnold's probably not their answer, but maybe a bridge quarterback for a year, but that's about it. Yeah. But he got a $10 million deal.
Yeah,
for
1 year. $10 million.
Yeah, what'd Joe Flacco get?
I don't remember what he got.
$4 million or something.
And he wasn't even playing a year ago, and of course had a tremendous finish. But
right.
So would you pay so for you guys, like a guy like Flacco, like me, even though he played in the AFC North, dude's a baller. He's an old school guy. He knows how to win. Why? I would much rather spend the $10 million on like a guy like Joe Flacco for a year than Sam Darnold, who has clearly shown he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Flacco was in his prime, and then Flacco last year, imagine if he would have started the full season for the Browns. Maybe it ends up differently. They had a good year, but man.
Yeah. Flacco's proven winner, obviously, in his career, and Darnold is a proven backup, I guess. But I don't know.
I don't envy, and of course, obviously they're more in tune and have been around a lot, but I do not envy these decision makers, because I love the fact that I'm sitting in the middle of bear country, and here they are with an ideal situation. You got the top overall, and what's their other pick? Is it 4th?
The Bears?
Yeah.
9.
9. Okay. So 2 top 10 picks, including the top overall. And they can't, and everybody's like, they won't get it right. They can't win. If they would have kept Fields.
Yeah.
And then Williams goes out and becomes okay, whatever, it would have been the wrong pick. And then here we go now. They're getting rid of Fields, which I hope he has not for you necessarily, Jeremy, just for the Bear fans to get mad. Hope he has a great go with Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And then, then the fans will be mad about that. Mm-hmm. And so you're making these decisions, and you got to pull the trigger and decide what you're going to do. And you just don't know for sure.
Yeah.
It's tough business, but it's why there's things like this. It gives a lot of people a lot of stuff to talk about.
Oh man. I can't.
Speaking of the Bears, I mean, they've so far they've done some deals like DeAndre Swift. Might overpaid for him a little bit. I think they're giving him $8 million a year. They went out and got a couple, linemen in free agency, which they need help with. Traded for a center. Keenan Allen deal.
Yeah, I like him.
Round pick. I don't mind that. He's 31 and a little injury prone, but he's still very productive in the league. So
he can go over the middle, play the outside. Like, I feel like that's a steal, because that's a guy that's going to make a lot of catches and a lot of plays, but he's
and then
underrated.
Having DJ Moore with him, it's a good combo there. But we're going to be starting over with likely a rookie quarterback, probably Caleb Williams, but which I don't know. I'm not sold on him yet. Obviously, hopefully he proves me wrong and he's really good. And I was the like on the keep Fields way forever, and then like now like seeing what they got for him, like a conditional 6th-round pick, possibly a 4th round, if he plays 51% of the snaps. So, and the Steelers came out and said Russell Wilson's starter, so they're not even going to have a competition for it. So now it's likely a 6th-round pick. But that just, and then it kind of put into my mind, well, maybe he's not as good as I thought he was, because all these NFL executives and GMs aren't giving the Bears what they want for him.
Yeah.
And I know he's 10-28, which is not good. But
that's not all his fault.
Exactly. What was I going to say? The offensive line has been bad. He's gone through 3 offensive coordinators, like 2. It would have been 3 if he stayed. But it's hard on a young player too. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully I like the other moves they've made. Hopefully they don't mess the draft up and go from there. But
right.
Let's talk about your Packers, Coach Tompkins. How do you like their deals so far? What they've done?
Well, I was just really in good friend of mine, Coach Keller, Rodney Keller.
Ridgeview.
That over Ridgeview, Hall of Fame coach. He's a Packer guy also, so we talked quite a bit about it. Really excited we kept Nixon. I think that was I was kind of coming to grips with the fact that he was probably going to leave, but he's he's the best return guy in the league.
Yeah.
So, that was big. And then but I, as a fan, you grow loyal. It really, 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 really hurts to see Aaron Jones go, especially to a division rival. Yeah. He was such a good man. I think, just dad was in the military and spoke so highly about being a Packer and just kind of embraced that. And so that was tough. I always liked AJ Dillon, so I'm glad they brought him back.
Mm-hmm.
Jacobs is a huge name, so I'm guessing it. And Jones, they tried to get him to, and he'd already done it once, right, to restructure his contract. But, a guy can only be willing to give up so much. So that was tough. But, and then McKinney, right?
McKinney, that was a good sign.
Yeah. Very, very. So, because you let Savage go, but now you got, McKinney's more of a playmaker.
Yep.
But I like it. I trust. The last time, and I'm, like I said, I got this from my brother, who's never said a cross word about the Packers ever. And he's 10 years older than I am. So the last time I looked at a transaction, I was like, what? They gave up a 1st-round pick for who? And it was Brett Favre, because I know who the guy was.
Yeah.
And that turned out pretty well. So I learned there. Let them make the decisions, and you just have to deal with it.
Well, aren't you part owner though? Shouldn't you have a say?
I am. I have 1 share. So
I don't.
They don't contact me as much as they used to.
No. I don't know how many people I met that are like, "Oh, I'm part owner of the Green Bay Packers."
Hey, Coach Augsburger, our football coach here, he loves to get angry about that.
Really,
his wife is a Packer fan, so I think he technically is part owner. Because she has a share. So I like to tell him that. He's a diehard Bear fan. So he loves to, because he's like, it's the greatest fundraiser in the history of professional sports. And I'm like, yeah, we know what it was. We're not, nobody's getting fooled here, but
drives me
part
nuts.
of the lore.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I think
take cheese and shove it up your, what, right?
Oh God.
Hey,
forget.
Just jealous.
All right. Sorry, Stendo, what you got? You can go. You can keep
talking.
Oh,
nothing. I just saying.
Getting a little defensive here.
How's that go? You guys being rivals? I mean, you got to hate each other during football season.
Yeah. But hey, I do want to mention. Is that a Steelers flag back there?
Oh yeah.
I can't. What was the last time they went to the Super Bowl?
Well, it was 2010-11 when you had Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring that up.
Hey, listen, I'm going to tell you this.
The Packers last went to the Super Bowl, right?
It is. Yes. But we won. So we've won.
I have no room to talk, though. The Bears have been a while, too. So
I think, though, here's what I'm going to say. You want a story, and then we can move on. But I read a story from that Super Bowl 45 that Ben Roethlisberger was out until 4:30 in the morning and there was pictures of him doing Jaeger shots.
Oh,
He was out on the night before the Super Bowl. Not kidding you. He actually hurt his foot doing the shuffleboard game. He didn't think that happened like 2 days prior. He didn't think he was going to be able to play. They like shoot him up, like, pain meds, painkillers. And their plan was to run the ball. And then when, it started off early, I think there was a pick six. And then they like
Collins.
Yes, that's what it was. And then they second half, they're like, you got to start slinging the rock. So that's why Ben, like, they were like, switch it around. So I think Ben's at that time, he had too much early success. And I think he kind of at that time was like, oh yeah, here I'm 3 Super Bowls in 8 years. I still think we should have, if he comes out and they probably do game plan. Man, when I read that stuff, I'm like, that does not surprise me at that time. I'm like, wow.
Can you imagine the stress of that? Here you are. We're worried about high school players, making sure that they're getting enough sleep and, eating right. And then here you are in a $1 billion industry and you find out your quarterback is doing that the night before the biggest game. I mean, the Super Bowl is arguably, right, the greatest single sporting event in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The World Cup would say differently, but it and here, then you got to adjust your game plan for all that. And maybe he was just a little scared. Maybe he was just a little fearful about what he was facing and thought,
Okay, let's not get crazy here.
Hey, Stenda is a huge Big Ben guy.
Let's not.
His license plates say Big Ben 7 on
Yes.
it. So,
okay. Hall of Famer, isn't he? He'll be a Hall of Famer.
I think he's the only, I think behind the, first ballot part, and which we'll have to talk about this sometime, but I'm not, I'm all about what they've done for the game. The off-field stuff, I get it. But, if you don't have those things that happened early on, I mean, how's he not a first ballot Hall of Fame statistically?
I think he's a first ballot. I think it has to be. Plus, how many you win to?
He's been to 3.
Won 2,
3
right?
Super Bowls. He won 2 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And the NFL has done it. They have done that, which you appreciate. They've separated it.
Yeah.
It's what did you do on the field?
Yeah.
And that's where baseball, I get so mad thinking about Pete Rose.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We talked about that on one of our pods.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
No, you're good. No, because it's true.
It's too pretentious. Yeah.
Like, I get it that, like, I'm not saying that. Sure, you're always going to say that they're held to a higher standard. Mm-hmm. We say that about everything now, and it's like at the end of the day, like, okay, like, I get it. Like, you don't want that stuff to be in the spotlight, but all right, and you still come out and you win all these games and you win these Super Bowls, and they're saying at the end of your career, well, yeah, you had a great career, but the off-field stuff. I'm like, what does it have to do with the game itself? Yeah. Just like you're saying, Pete Rose. Why would you prohibit a guy to be in the Hall of Fame? Nobody will ever catch that guy in how many different statistical, categories, and he's never going to get in.
And you get into the issue of integrity, and so if we get down to the absolutes of integrity, the Hall of Fames would probably be pretty bare.
There'd be nobody in there.
Yeah, because everybody did something that was regrettable, and that, and then the steroid era stuff. Like, I think you also have to approach that like, basically, it is what it is. It was what it was. Everybody, They weren't the only ones. They excelled. Were they not the best in the game at that time? Okay, and put those guys in. I mean, Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer before all that.
Yes.
And Roger Clemens was a Hall of Famer before all that. And,
Barry Bonds would see like one pitch a week because he get intentionally walked so much and he hit it out of the ballpark. I mean,
yeah, and he was he was a 30-30 guy year after year with the Pirates. And
well, gold gloves. Mm-hmm. I think before he took the pre-steroids, he had at that point he had 445 home runs.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a Hall of Fame career just there alone.
Yeah, same with Clemens. He had won a number of Cy Youngs, strikeout machine. Not everybody's Nolan Ryan and can just do it on being a farm guy and pitch till you're 50.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not realistic.
Just throwing heaters.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't know.
Stenda, do you want to talk about the Steelers at all quick?
Hey, Justin Fields, I'm going to tell you this. This is all I'm going to say about the signings. They're not going to win a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson, and here's why. what was it, 2014? Well, they win in 14, 15, they play the Patriots. How are you gonna sign a guy like that? He's way better than Kenny Pickett, obviously. Anybody's better than Kenny Pickett. Yeah, I think he can still play, but you're gonna tell me you sign a guy like that and he's saying he's gonna win how many championships? And that guy in the Super Bowl, when he throws that pick where Malcolm Butler picks him off, he didn't have the kahuntas to be, change the play and say, hey, we're on the 1 yard line. We're just going to hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you going to win a Super Bowl with a guy when they beat the Broncos the year before, they blast them like 43-8? They should have beat the Patriots. And I just think, and I used that moment in that Super Bowl against the Patriots. It's like, come on, man. You're telling me if I'm the quarterback, maybe you guys are different. If I'm that guy in the huddle and they come on second goal on the 1 yard line to beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl with 25 seconds, we're going to throw the ball. I'm like, yeah, hey, we're changing this play. Sorry.
Well, my team's most iconic play in its history is the Ice Bowl. And, no timeouts left. You run the ball. Bart Starr said, let's do it. And Lombardi said, go for it. Ran it. Yeah, so Wilson said he wants to win a Super Bowl?
He said, so here's the thing. And my problem with it is, like, he says, yeah, I really want to be here. And, my goal, I want to win a couple more championships. And I'm like, well, you're not in your prime. He's still a good player. Yeah. He takes care of his body. Like you were talking about longevity. He's going to play longer because he takes care of his body. He's still mobile. He's got a good arm. He's going to have weapons, I think, with Pitt. But at the same time, it's like you're past that prime. And, I go back to that Super Bowl with the Patriots. And I'm like, after that just like kind of defeated him, like deflated him. He's been to 9 Pro Bowls, but it's like, come on, dude, you're going to say now you're going to win 2 or 3 championships. Like you said, it's hard to win 1 in 20 or 30 years. You ain't doing that. I take Justin Fields all day. Hopefully he'll learn from what Russell Wilson. Tomlin will be able to develop him with the quarterback's coach and then have Justin Fields long-term. The guys, I think he's got the tangibles. He just never had the offensive line, and he hasn't had the development from within. And I think Pitt can do that. But I'm not Russell Wilson. Yeah, he's an upgrade from Kenny Pickett, but he's not winning us a Super Bowl.
And what quarterback doesn't want to win
a
Super Bowl? So you don't really want to say it. You just want to go out there, do your thing right, and show it that you don't saying it does nothing but put like pressure on you. It's obvious you want to. And so it was such a mess. And I got a good friend here that, Steve Grauer coaches with us and teaches with us, diehard lifelong Bronco fan.
Yep.
What a mess there. And I have to think he was a big part of it in a lot of ways. Started with all the kind of prima donna contract clauses with in his first year and, separate this and be away from that. And I don't know. That doesn't seem like that'd be somebody you'd want, but maybe he'll get it for you. But it's nice to have a backup. Like here, that's been my last 20 years, having a back, a guy ready.
Yeah.
That you can let sit and develop and step in when the time is right.
Yeah. Hopefully, like I said, with Wilson, I would think, he's on a 1 year deal, and Fields can learn under him. And then at the end of the year, they're like, yeah, Russell didn't do a whole lot for us. He did enough, but hey, good. We got 1 year. He got to learn underneath you. And now we go with Fields because, he just, and like you said, it's more of his, like you're saying, and I think he had a lot to do with Denver, talking about those contract stuff. But he also, I read stuff where Marshawn Lynch said that when he played with him, Russell Wilson didn't even have his phone number. And Russell Wilson, when he called him on a blocked number. And it's like, I think there's more, it's more of not that he's not capable. It's that his mindset is like, he is above all else and everybody else that's on his team.
How many times do you see a blow up on the sidelines, right? In the course of a season, a dozen, maybe, and big ones. Like how many times do you see a coach getting irate with a player and then a like an untouchable type, and he had the run-in with the lineman the first year on the sidelines. And those are your guys, like, right? Like, you're a quarterback.
Yeah.
If they don't, they're going to fight for you. And if you give them reason not to, you've done something pretty bad.
Yeah.
And then to get where Peyton got into it with them last year in the sideline, they end up just basically, putting him on the practice squad the last weeks. There's got to be a personality. If he doesn't have his best player's phone number,
Yeah,
Come
someone
on.
there.
yeah.
And like I said, you paying them money. They're paying him for a player really at the end of the day that he once was.
Yeah.
I mean, and I get that's kind of how it works if you have success early on, but yeah, I think it's more like it's more of just the off the the teammate aspect, and he just like you said, personality doesn't mess with those guys, and I'm sure there's a lot of guys that probably just didn't like him and they don't like him. So we're not winning a Super Bowl with him. Would Justin Fields?
No.
I don't know. Let's see, man. I hope we do
No.
so I can rub it in your face, Coit.
Yeah, thanks. I hope he sucks at the Steelers. Honest.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
God, I may want to think about it. I hope he does play 51% of the snaps, though, so the Bears can at least get a 4th round instead of 6th round. But
I was hoping for the same thing last year. That did not work because it was like guaranteed he was going to play.
Yeah,
X number of snaps. But
yeah. All right. Any other free agency talk, Cinda? Coach Tompkins, you good? We good?
Yeah, I can't think.
Right.
Yeah, I think that
Right.
Kirk Cousins was awesome.
I do like the fact that you said it seems like it's busier than ever. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, it's wild. I don't remember. I mean, I know, and then obviously the other big one was Saquon going to the Eagles, another division rival.
Get these guys going to the rivals.
Yeah, it's crazy. Usually I don't see that either. But
did Henry land somewhere?
He went to Baltimore.
That's right. And they got Pollard.
Yep, and then
Titans got Pollard.
Titans got Pollard.
Yes. Yeah.
So who do the Cowboys have?
They haven't done anything.
They haven't done nothing.
They're them and the Broncos have been. They lost 80 million cap hit with the Russell Wilson deal, or whatever it was, 80-some million. So the Broncos and the Cowboys have probably been the worst offseason so far. Yeah. I know the Cowboys probably are trying to save up for the big contract they got to pay Dak here coming up, but yeah, that's another story, I guess.
Patrick Queen going from
he went to Steelers. That's a rival too.
That's correct. I couldn't believe that.
That's a huge gig. He's solid, really good linebacker.
And then they need a linebacker spot. Yeah. They needed that. So with Watt now, I like that. But I can't. When is the last time for you guys? Like I can't think of any time where it's been like this, like within the division rivals where they're going like that. Like a good Viking player going to the Packers or vice versa. Like Pitt doing that with Baltimore. I'm like, just don't. That was kind of unheard of for a long time.
Whoa. For sure.
Well, now, I mean, now it's just about the money. It's whoever team's going to pay the guy the most, and then he's going to go there. But
that Favre worked it to where he eventually could do it. That was a little more out of spite, I think. He wanted a shot at his old team.
Yeah.
A little more.
I love watching him play.
Yeah,
he was a great quarterback. I mean,
I'll
always remember that game when his dad passed away and he had that. Like 4 touchdowns in the first half.
Yeah, Monday nighter at Los Angeles against the Raiders. And
I remember that.
And there, you talk about Russell Wilson because the receivers got together before the game and said, we're catching everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna, he would be a guy you would want to play with and play for.
Yeah,
like Brett Favre would.
Yeah,
Yeah, hands down. Well, and that's why. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you just don't see it. I mean, it's a new era of them now coming in different ball game. But like you think about I'm sure like Breeze and Brady and those guys, they all wanted to play for them. There's a reason why they were in it for so long because they just had to been locker room guys and they just loved them. I mean, and you see with like Russell Wilson, he's still kind of part of that, mid 2000s. But clearly, once he left Seattle, it's kind of like he's just been, down it's like I think the real him finally came out.
Yeah. Maybe Cousins. Maybe that's the 180.
Yeah.
Part of that.
Yeah.
So.
Speaking, you guys ever see that video of Brett Favre and his grandson? It's like a short clip. They're at some football game. They're in like a suite or a box, and his grandson goes the grandson didn't know he's getting videoed, but he's like, "How much is Tom Brady worth?" And then Brett Favre just like a lot, and then He's like, how much are you worth? Like 33,000?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah.
I was like, that's hilarious. And Brett Favre just looks at the camera and like shakes his head, like,
Oh,
what the
yeah.
hell is this kid doing?
That's good.
But before we move on to Coach Tompkins' questions here about Gibson City basketball, I'm going to catch up on the comments here because we got some rolling in. Judy Weber Jones, my driver's ed teacher back in the day, she says, my hero. I'm assuming she's talking about you, Coach Tompkins.
Oh, she's my driver's ed teacher as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
man.
she says Mel Sib and GCMS legend.
Yeah,
I would argue that Judy Weber Jones would be a Mel Sib and
yes,
GCMS
definitely.
legend, 'cause
He
she was
definitely
a
is
too,
for sure.
for sure, yeah.
Yes.
Nate
Got the football
Schilling,
program starting up there.
yeah, she was a softball coach for a long time
Long
and did a
time.
really nice job. Yeah. She does a really nice job. I have her friends with her on Facebook. She posts a bunch of like old like softball
yeah.
pictures
Yeah.
like of like teams back when I played. So it's just
And I get a lot of stuff sent my way. She'll come across an old state tournament program or some old Mel Sib, memorabilia or relic, and she's good about sharing that stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. Nate Schilling says, just think if we never knew which player was going where until the season started. That'd be interesting.
Make fantasy drafts a lot.
That'd be tough.
Intense.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A lot of people losing a lot of money there. I wouldn't like that.
That'd be tough.
Yeah.
Brad Bianchi, he says, love seeing these handsome, healthy humans.
He's got to be talking about you too. I know that.
I think so. You got a lot of gray going, Coach Tompkins. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, you can pull the gray. I don't think I could pull the gray. So
yeah, it wasn't by. This wasn't like the design. This wasn't the plan, but
just old age.
Just old age.
Nate Schilling says thoughts on Eagles. We talked a little bit about that with Barkley. Tyler Whitebread, excuse me. He's a head coach at Erie Prophetstown High School. Just was at a clinic with the Erie Prophetstown coaches last weekend, and he says Vikings head coach is a former QB, Kevin O'Connell. He goes, that's his specialty, and then he goes Skull, so he's obviously Vikings guy. I was just in Minnesota. I drove by that stadium today coming home. That place is wild. How big that is.
We'll be getting one of those on the lake here.
Yeah, we might be. It'd be awesome. Couple other comments, quick, and then we'll get into the next topic here. Nate Schilling said, I pay it just from experience, especially since he has a ring, but only 1 year. I'm assuming that's Russ. And then Tanner Weber, he said, I saw the Big Ben 7 mobile and didn't even get a wave.
Sorry, man.
Zach Hudson, Jerry rolled at its best. The Cowboys not doing anything. And then Jamie Sexton, Coach Tompkins, says, I'm hoping Caleb Williams isn't the next Russell Wilson. I agree with that partly. I mean,
you probably would like to the first 10.
Yeah, I'd take a super. He's got a ring, so I mean, I'd take at least one.
I'm hoping he's the next Cade McNown.
Oh God! Stop it!
Put
it.
That was a big bust there. Jeez,
I loved it.
The Bears have had
number 8. Was he number 8?
Yeah, I think. They did the whole. It was Lovie Smith era.
Yeah,
I think you guys.
That was just at the start of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they did the hey, we're going to play him one series a game to get him, slowly in there, and that was a disaster.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I don't even. Bears quarterbacks. That history of that is just wild. If you go back,
Craig Krenzel and
Jay Cutler is probably the best quarterback in Bears history, stat wise.
He is, and then number 2 is Sid
Luckman. Yeah. 1940s.
Exactly.
1940s, Sid Luckman. They won. That's
when
they were
winning guys back then. It was like 8 on 8.
That's when they were winning world championships, not Super Bowls. So,
jeez, man.
But I do reference the early football later.
Okay. Oh yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, sounds good.
How about Kyle Orton?
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't want him to be the guy. He fell into it, and he was one of their better ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Him and Jim Miller.
I like Jim Miller. Yeah, I hate the Bears, but I like Jim Miller.
Jim Miller never turned.
He got suspended for substance violation of the substance policy. He had bought like some, supplement at GNC, and it had like one illegal something, and You looked
He
at him
was,
and you're like, what?
yeah, he
This is
wasn't
not a
fit at
guy
all.
who's using steroids.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, he
All
looked
right.
like a truck driver.
Enough Bears quarterback
Yes.
talk for now.
All
Hopefully,
right,
we're
man.
talking about
That would
Caleb
be
Williams.
that could be an entire like month long.
Literally just
Good.
talk about the history of the terrible quarterbacks of the
Oh yeah,
Chicago Bears.
Zach Hudson. We forgot about Rex Grossman. He took him to the Super Bowl.
He did.
That was more,
you know,
that was more their
actually,
defense and Devin Hester, I'd say. But you know, he was the quarterback.
He threw for
have
like
you guys
100
talked
yards a
ever
game.
about Hester getting the Hall of Fame? I'm for it. I
Yeah.
like the Bears.
Oh, yeah,
I
for
like
sure.
it.
I think that's great.
If you're the
Mhm.
best ever at a position that impacts the game like that, you got to
Yep.
be.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I agree. I love Devin Hester being in the Hall of Fame. All right, Coach Tompkins, here we go. We're gonna ask you some questions, and feel free to go as long as you want here. The beginning of the podcast here, we said Coach Tompkins has been head coach at GCMS for 22 years. He's been a basketball coach for 27 total, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And then 316 wins for his career as head coach.
Wow.
I did some math. That's equivalent to about 15 wins a season. And I know
A lot of losses too, though, Dad.
Yeah, but I know there's a couple seasons in there that were rough. But that's still 316 wins. That's an accomplishment. 300 wins. Anytime a coach gets that, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
3 regional championships, sectional championship, and a 3rd place finish in 2019. So let's talk about the GCMS Falcons, kind of what you're expecting from your team this upcoming season. Maybe you can mention some returners or some newcomers that you think are going to do well for you.
Yeah, it was a season coming in that we had only had 2 guys that had a lot of experience for us last year. We only had 2 seniors this past season. And so one of them returned. Ty Cribbett was a starter last year and had been a letterman since he was a freshman. And then Alex Ward had played a little bit, but we didn't have a lot. Braden Elliott is a junior, and he had played since his freshman year. So we had 2 experienced players. And then we were moving Braden to a different position. And so it was one where we were like a lot of unknowns, didn't have a lot of experience coming back. We had a nice year last year, won 2 years ago, won 18 games, won 18 and 11. But we're senior dominant, graduated a bunch. But these guys this year, we ended up winning 20 games, got to a regional championship, did outstanding. And, the likes of an Alex Ward coming in as a senior was very good for us off the bench. And then we were very junior dominant. We had of our 15 roster spots, we had 11 juniors.
Okay.
And those guys were all high character team guys. And they stepped in and really, we saw some things out of them in the past and in the summer that we were excited about. A lot of the intangibles that you talk about a locker room, the guy you would want in your locker room, a guy you would want to play for. And I think this year, and we've had groups like this, but it was a group of guys that really were great in the locker room, sincerely played for each other. We had one sophomore, Easton Stroh, played and lettered for us, and he was our tallest guy, 6'5", long, has played a lot of basketball. And then Graydon Leonard was a freshman. We brought him up at Christmas time, and he ended up last 2 games of the season led us, I think, he was our 2nd leading scorer in the regional over that last week. So really exciting season. It was fun. It was great to see these guys get to play in an atmosphere like a regional championship. And then it's really fun to think about a lot of this roster now as we gained a ton of experience this season. Having a bunch of these guys back next year is really something to be excited about.
Yeah, 20 wins with a young team, and then bringing the majority of it back's got to be a good feeling going into next year. My nephew's a freshman, obviously, you know that, and I was able to get back to one freshman game, and I thought that freshman group's got some potential too. They played really hard, and
I wasn't there, was I, Dad?
No, you were. I think you guys are in the conference tournament, maybe, or you had an early game. It just so happened Tristan, my nephew, went off that game too. He had like 20 points, like 16 first half. But
his hero was there.
Yeah, I guess. But but yeah, that group was they played hard and did a lot of nice things. So I think your future obviously looking bright. So that's good.
Yeah.
Your boy obviously on there too. So
Yeah. And that's another group that really has a lot of kids that like each other and get along. And you guys know that. Like if you have that element, and you can kind of you never have to worry about the internal battles of well, I'm not getting mine, or why is this happening to this person, and you're just happy for each other. That is an underrated aspect of a team success. You can get so much more out of guys when they think that way, and we're blessed to have guys, a few groups now, or groups back to back that think that way.
Yeah, and I think basketball wise, sport especially is probably one of the sports where that mindset comes out a lot. Like maybe you got a star player that's averaging 18, 19 points a game, and he goes through 4 or 5 games where he's only scoring 8, or something like that. Sometimes those kids can kind of steer it the wrong way, but if you got everyone sticking together and glue guys and going all that, then that definitely helps a lot. For sure.
Yeah, it's a cruel sport. I've always said it's a cruel sport. And I heard this from a coach a long time ago. There's only 5 people playing. You sub obviously, but you only got 5 out there at a time. And we had a group also. A lot of our guys didn't play very much, but they were tremendous guys on the bench. And I think that has been, and part of it is March Madness. You watch the March Madness, how many clips do you have going to the bench and watching what the bench is doing?
Yeah.
It's became a big part of the game of basketball. And our guys were like that. Like, it wasn't showy either. It was just enthusiasm and excitement. And that helps. That helps so much a team success. So
Coach, how do you get, when you have, 15 kids on your roster, 5 are only obviously starting, you probably sub 2-3 guys. Maybe you sub more, but I remember
our rotation is about 7 or 8. It is about 8. Yeah.
I was gonna say. So how do you get those? How do you prep or get those kids to that point where they understand, like, hey, we've only got 5-8 guys playing, where they can contribute, not necessarily just on the court, like you're saying, being a good teammate, on the bench. How do you get them to stay excited? Because not playing for some kids, that's tough.
That's hard. I mean, honestly, right? We all played something. You do it to play. It's not. You don't enter a sport when you're in 5th grade to think, hey, I'm just going to be a guy that, it's just a part of it. You want to play, and everybody. It hurts to not play, and I think a lot of that is obviously before we ever get them. It's how they're raised, what experience they've had, and the relations that they have with the guys that are playing. And that makes it easy. But something we try to do is just celebrate it and acknowledge it and let them know how important it is when they do those things. Because I've read so many books and whatever, and you guys hear it all the time, but it's culture is the big word. I heard a good quote about culture is the most overused word that has like the least defined definition. Like you can't just define exactly what it is to have a good culture. It's just kind of what you do. So part of that though is we just really try to highlight when guys on the bench are celebrating and being happy for guys on the floor. We acknowledge that, make it known that we love that. And that's right. As big as any, a guy making a shot sometimes. It's big.
Yeah. I wonder, because I feel like that's for, especially now. Do you think it's tougher now to keep those kids motivated that aren't playing as opposed to maybe 20 years ago?
Everything has changed so much, and kids have changed, but I don't know. And I was like, you guys probably thought you could hardly say anything on the bench. I was just kind of old school at that time, and didn't embrace that as much. So it's almost been easier to get that now, which is kind of backward thinking because everybody talks about it, and kids have changed and people have changed and parents have changed, but it's almost easier. Before it was, And I think a lot of it's involved too. You used to have to sit, and officials would warn you pretty quick if you did get up, and now a little more of that is allowed, and the coaching box is bigger now, so you're able to walk the sideline and interact with the guys on the bench more, and so I think there's some easier parts to it.
Okay.
And then plus, I think putting value on it also has helped. Like,
yeah,
you're not just here. You have a role, and it's important. So,
yeah,
let it rip.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, with like football, it's obviously a little different. I mean, you got 11 spots you can have on the field at the same time, and you got offense, you got defense, you got special teams. So you can get maybe a kid that's not playing offense, defense, get him on special teams and let him run down on kickoff or something like that. But
It's the same thing though too, right? Because
yeah, I mean,
sometimes that kid's like, "Why am I on special teams? I should be starting." So it's the same. You have the same challenges.
Well, and when you were talking about your bench and pointing out a kid celebrating that's not playing, it's easy to do football too, because we obviously have like sideline film, and I'll see kids who don't play very much, and we're running down a big play down the sideline, and that kid's running down the sideline, with the guy on the field, and like you do, I pointed out, or one year we had a kid running down the sidelines and he tripped, so like we pointed that out in film, but he's so excited for the team that he, it just happened. So,
and in 20 years, when those guys get together, that'll be one of the things they remember the most.
Right, exactly.
In a good way. And I remember one of your teammates, Josh Garrett, when it was your senior night, and we had you put down your greatest memory, and he was something with doing 3-man weave, and he fell just like just got sniped and just wiped out for just nothing around him. And he said everybody, I think Coach Allen was coaching, it was JV practice, and everybody just died laughing. And that's what he remembered, and it's a good thing that is a huge memory, because those are the moments, And I'm not trying to get all sentimental and cliche with this stuff, but there's a lot of truth in that, and that's because how would it be, right, as a player to know that somebody gets that excited for something you're doing?
Yeah,
if you're the guy on the field, and
absolutely,
that just feeds back and forth.
100%, I agree. Couple of comments quick here before I
read that one.
Which one? The book?
Yeah, extreme ownership.
Yeah, extreme. You've read that one?
Jocko. Yeah, that's great.
Jocko, yeah. I like that guy's videos. Brad Bianchi recommended books. I like it. And then John Widener, I coached him in Fulton. He said, Steamer, freshman B-ball, 09-10. Coit was a wizard with the triangle offense. We had to run the triangle offense. Yeah, our coach.
Yeah, that's big stuff. That's
that's
a complicated.
I know the triangle offense pretty well, actually.
Yeah.
I did that for 4 years teaching that, but I was no
Is that
tech.
like, you that from the Bulls or what? The 96 Bulls?
It was like Bulls, and I think Bettendorf High School in Iowa used to run it a little bit too. And our head coach had a son-in-law that helped coach there too. But
Tex Winter Jr.
Baby.
I mean, I wasn't that extensive with it, but I got to know it a little bit for sure. Next question, Coach Tompkins. So you've been head coach for 22 years. So obviously, and you kind of mentioned how, kids have changed, parents have changed. I would argue that maybe kids haven't changed as much as maybe expectations have changed for kids, as far as maybe parents have changed a little bit. I'm not saying that's wrong or right or whatever, but I'd say maybe more there. But so after 22 seasons, like, what makes you like coming back? How do you find that energy to keep bringing it and doing what you're doing? Because that's a long time to be doing something, especially coaching at the same spot. So kind of explain how you get in that mindset each year.
Yeah, and I like that you said that, because you hear that a lot too, that kids have not changed. I really don't think they have, and I kind of equate that sometimes also to NBA basketball. Draymond Green stuff. And everybody's concerned about the future of the league, and is it becoming a violent league? Well, let's go back and just watch some of the stuff from the 80s.
The Jordan rules.
Yeah, and the hard fouls and the fights, and like, all right, hey, we're shooting 2, let's go. It's just a regular foul. The rules have changed. social media changes things. I do think the dynamics outside of the kid themselves have created changes in the child, and so when you're 12 to 18 years old and you're a middle school, high school athlete, you're pretty impressionable, right? So those things do change things. And, you hear the pressure put on you from whether it be a parent or whether it be, social media, people posting stuff. So I think there's a lot of truth in that. The kids have not changed that much, and because that's also getting to your question, how you do recharge and get back to it is because of that. It's still, relationships is a big word, getting to know kids. I'm kind of backwards in a lot of ways, in the sense the parts that I really, really enjoy are scouting and preparing and getting a game plan ready. I really love that. And I love being, that type of having to make those decisions and get guys ready and try to fit our pieces to fit best in what the opponent is doing. So I love that. And so I look forward to that stuff. And a lot of times that would be some, and I'm a little different. So in a lot of ways, but people would look at that as the grind of it, but I really enjoy it. And then practice, I love practice. I like creating practice plans and trying to figure out what we need to do, and then trying to fit it in the time restraints of what we have. And I do, the games are probably the most nerve-wracking, but in those moments too, the coaches that I've coached with, have been blessed to coach with, and the relationships there, and then the players too, just get a new group. And the fact now here you are in year 22, well, every single kid that we have now, if they went to camp, it was our basketball camp, in second grade. And so now seeing sometimes going back and I look at the old rosters of youth camp from 10 years, or 7 or 8 years ago, and you see the kids now that have worked their way up and stuck with it. And I think it says a lot too, because basketball is, there's limited spots, and to see kids fight through that and continue, and then get to work with them is cool. And so I think that recharges pretty easy. And also I don't think my wife would want me around that much at the house, especially now that we're down to just having one in the house. That would be too much for her. So I got to find my time to do something. But I think those are the things that recharge me. It's a routine, and you get into it, and it's just like, here we've been now about 3 weeks out, but already things are starting for what are we going to do this summer, start up on the gyms in the spring, guys going to lift, it's just, and then now there's so much. I love to read. And then, anything you look at on social media, it used to be big clinics, and you said you went one just a couple weeks ago. You go there and you pick up what you can. Well, now there's clinics online and anything you need right in front of you. So I like that part too, of what can we use, what's out there, what can we do different, what are some things there. And I think that also very much helps me recharge too.
I would, that's a good way to put it. I mean, as far as like football goes, you're always like, this is about the time of year, kind of the same with you, that I'm going to have a spring meeting to talk about our summer workouts and our summer stuff, and start to get that mindset going. And the new, like getting a new team each year, cause you're always graduating at least, hopefully in football, 10 to 12 kids. Your case, you only had 2, but this year, but just getting that new class, getting the new ownership, it's always a good feeling. One other quick, sorry, go ahead. You got. No, I was just going to ask with that. I mean, with that also, I think we said it before we went on air, before we went live, but you had mentioned something about when you took over my senior year, how you were like, you were kind of maybe like a chicken with your head cut off type thing.
Oh yeah.
And like when honestly, like when I was on that team, like I didn't see that. I don't remember that, and we had to and we would just kind of, we would do whatever you told us to do, because that's the way we operated, but so I guess the question then too also is kind of maybe not exactly like philosophy wise, but because I'm sure you still have the same kind of concepts, but kind of how have you adapted or changed the way that you coach now compared to when you first started, maybe your first couple of years? How's that molded you, or how's that changed?
Probably there's a lot. And I think too, and Coach Allen and I talk about this a lot because you were there. And here's the other part to this, and this is not an insult. So, your first 2 year, your junior and senior year, right, or Coach Allen's first two, you guys went 1 and
Yeah, it was
17.
not fun. Yeah.
My first year with you guys, we were 5 wins.
Yeah.
But it goes back. We sometimes will do a foxhole test. Like, all right,
thanks for bringing that up, by the way.
I know, and that's why this is not your fault. It was our inexperience. Is, who do you want in your foxhole? And every one of you guys, I would have wanted in my foxhole. Like, you had my back. I hope you guys knew we had yours, and same with Coach Allen of football. Like, if we have to go through something like that, that was the type of group that we needed to go through that with, because you guys did do what we asked you to do, and you did it 100%. And so I think, number one, you don't fully realize what it takes to be a head coach until you do it. Mm-hmm. No matter how long you were an assistant, no matter who you worked with, you don't fully understand what it takes. And this is not making high school sports like it's a professional job. It's not. It's insane. I can't even comprehend how much college coaches do. But you don't know. I mean, it's a lot. And, so you get hit right with that. So that I fell victim to that, number one. I thought, well, this one, I've been around. I was an assistant. I was young, of course. I thought I got it. So that's number one. But so number two probably is how things. So I just kind of learned about, all right, you got to be organized. You got to understand. You got to have you need to be responsible, and organization's big. But I think the focus early on in my career was definitely on the offensive end. It was, let's go, let's fly, and we shot a lot this year. We utilized the 3-pointer a lot, but we spent a lot more time on defense now. So I think that is probably number one. And then number two, I was probably way too structured in the sense of, we are here to get better. We are here to do work. Let's not smile and act like we're having fun. We're here to work. And I really, that was ridiculous. Now if you have those moments where it's a little, kid falls down in film session, and you embrace that, and maybe a kid chuckles about it, and in a good way, right? Like, embrace those moments, and because it is fun. And these guys got, you see Coach Allen's comment there.
He said he's got better assistants.
Now.
It's Coach Allen and Jason Thompson. That was my first staff. And those are 3 guys going 3 different directions all the time. So, but it was so memorable. So many great moments with that. But I think to embrace that, a lot of that I got from Coach Allen. Like, he had a rule in football where if a lineman ever scored in practice, you got to do an end zone dance. So does a scoop and score in practice, you got to do an end zone dance. And that kind of led to one time where it was actually happening. And there was a penalty, and it was 15-yarder because the guy did do it, but he was okay with it, because that's the part, have fun. Don't show anybody up. Don't do anything silly. Don't do anything to disrespect the school. But if you're going to have fun, embrace that and allow that. And so that's probably, that might be the biggest change for me, is trying to, I'm not Coach Allen. So he just has that personality about him to where the fun, just kind of comes out of him. I'm a little, I don't come off that way, but I enjoy it. And I love seeing kids having a good time. And so those are probably 2 of the bigger changes.
Yeah. You're such a tyrant back in the day. Jeez, man.
No, I mean, I was a little of course, AJ Richard and teammate of Dutz. AJ's been on our staff.
Yeah.
Now since 2015. And wow. It was because every time I get going a little bit, he'll, about the old days, he'll have to bring up some story about something I said or did to him, and in a fun way. But
we had some stories this weekend too. Us together.
Oh I was just happy you included Matt. I was really happy.
Matt's usually involved. He's usually the the life of the party. But
Oh yeah, good guys, good guys.
So I just want to, I mean, kind of back to your statement of you don't really know if you can do it until you actually do it. The head coaching part. When I was an assistant, I was always, and when I first started coaching, I always wanted to be like a head basketball coach. Was kind of like where I first thought I would be. And then I started coaching football, and I'm like, God, I just loved football. I started liking it way more, just soaking everything in, learning as much as I could. From started with like BJ Zalesnik when I was student teaching at Leroy. I coached with him.
He's still going.
And he's great, and I learned a bunch from him. And then getting coaching job in Fulton, learning under Coach Lower, and then I came to Comanche, and then I was assistant for 4 years. We had 3 head coaches. So then, I'm like, gosh, kind of going. And then the head coach, before I got hired, some people asked me to apply for the head position. And at that time still, I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm not ready, kind of thing. And then was an assistant that year. And then we didn't have a good year. We went 0-9. And I kind of started thinking in my head, I'm like, I think I might be able to give this a try, and then the coach resigned and gave it a try. And then, my first year I made a lot of, it was a learning experience, made a lot of mistakes. I think I've learned from that too. So you're right. You just don't know till you do it. And then I fell in love with it and plan on doing it for a long time. Hopefully as long as
there's nothing else I can imagine doing, honestly. And for sure. And you were ready. And that's the other part. I don't want to discourage people from thinking they're not ready. It's just, there are aspects to it that you don't realize that are definitely doable and things, but it's a lot more to it than, and that's part of why coaches get criticized so much, because it's in the stands. It looks like, well, why don't you just do this? And there was a big play in the state here in Illinois in 4A. A team won on a last second dunk. They were pressing. It was Quincy was inbounding up 1 against Normal in a press breaker. And the kid was kind of falling out of bounds under his own basket and just threw it back under his opponent's basket right to the kid for a dunk. And it's like, oh, you got to know, just throw it deep, chuck it deep. Well, yeah, I can guarantee you the kid knew that. But in that moment, you're just trying to you can't be thinking that clearly. And,
right.
Right.
And also, how many fine details are there that are sometimes hard to just get in every kid's mind, and and so it's
Or it's like when I was an assistant coach at the high school here at Comanche, when we made 3 state tournament runs and had some really good teams. And
we're watching you.
The one year we were really good, but we struggled from the free throw line. We didn't shoot free throws very well.
No.
And I don't know how many parents or other community members would either come up to me or even our head coach would be like, you guys think about practicing some free throws? I'm like, no, we're not. We don't shoot those at all.
That is hilarious, because if Jason Thompson was listening, and I know Coach Allen knows this, once in a while, Coach Biafeld here, our principal, he was a staff member also. He always says that, you guys work on free throws? Because we had a parent say that.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, what do you mean work on free throws? How do you do that? What do you shoot 2 and rotate? You do. And it becomes, there's mental parts to it. And sometimes.
And then like our head coach, Coach Davis, would be like, actually we're thinking about not shooting them, and sometimes he wouldn't just because of the mindset thing. But it's just funny how that works as a head coach.
Not that easy.
The Monday, what do they call them? The Monday quarterbackers.
Yeah, the Monday.
There's a lot. I feel like that's got to be tough for you guys, because like the points you guys are bringing up, they don't understand the dynamics of what goes into being the head coach. Like I said, being an assistant, I remember, like I said, when I coached at Comanche back in the day, an assistant, thinking at that age, I thought, man, I would have done this. But I know now, being 35, I'm like, I would have had no clue. I probably would have done the same or something stupider. Yeah. People, it's so easy when you're a spectator and from the outside, and they don't understand what you guys have to put into that. So I feel like that's, man,
and it's not, believe me, if I could do it, it gives a lot of people a lot of confidence that you can man the position. But there are, and it just makes you appreciate it more, and people that do it, and something that always makes me feel better too is and there's Coach Allen making a guest appearance here.
Oh, nice. Bring him on. He can,
Hey, Coach Allen, they want you to come
Jump
over
on
here.
in.
He just gave the
he
thumbs
just
up.
drive in and say hi or what?
He's too busy working. He
Oh,
is
geez.
this guy. He is on
He's
here.
about to retire. There's no way he's still working.
Yeah.
Doing eligibility.
He's doing eligibility.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Tell him I said
Did you
hi.
like the Coach Allen? It's kind of weird. I'm looking and did you enjoy the do you work on free throws?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a classic.
Throws.
It's
Oh,
classic.
Oh yeah.
It's funny. Stenda, hey, you had a scenario or something for us. What do you got?
Let me give it to you guys. All right. So Coach T, you go first. Okay. But because I think Coach Coy, you've been coaching a while though too. So, but for Coach T first. So as a whole though, okay. So obviously over the 27 years, obviously different cultures, different era. Social media, like you mentioned, has kind of overtaken this era now. But take yourself back to, let's say 20 years ago, where maybe you had to deal with like a disgruntled parent or player or both. And maybe if you can think about a time that you had to deal with, either a parent or a coach 20 years ago and how you handled it, and then take that scenario and put it in today's era, could you handle it the same way? And I say this because of how social media, parents go on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and, you get everybody's, oh, this is what this guy did to my kid, or blah, 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 or what he said. Where back then, it was like, if they had a problem, they're going to have to come to you. They got to come to you face to face. So if you could think of a time, where you had to deal with a parent or player years ago, and then fast forward, could you still handle it the same way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do want to preface it with the fact that I have been blessed with a lot of great parents, and it's like my sister says this. She says, whenever she gets her hair cut, 100 people could say it looks great.
Yeah.
But one person goes, why'd you do that? That's the only one you remember.
Yeah.
And so it's like sometimes like that with parents too. And it's like that, it's one can ruin the whole batch. But we've had so many great parents. It's been a blessing. But I think it is different. I think back early on, it was just reliant upon you're not involved. It's between the kid and me, and whatever you think is what for you to think. And I think now there's a lot more avenues because of social media, maybe, and because of communication, that it's easier to, hey, let's set up a meeting and let's talk, and let's have all three participants involved in the conversation, player, parent, and the coach. And so I think those are encouraged more because communication is really, really important. Really, really important. You gotta communicate because there is so many breakdown in communication. My son back. He's back. So there's a lot of breakdown now with communication, and it's easy. It's so much easier to be able to communicate. And I don't know, phone conversations. I still that, and meetings, and you have emails. There's so many ways to, but I think it is different. It is different. And there's probably things that you have to approach it differently, because back then, and I feel so old saying, but it was back then, you just could push it off and like, hey, if the message didn't get home, if the wrong message got home, that's on you guys.
Right.
Where now you have to take more accountability, make sure the kid, and I'm talking even like logistic stuff, like when games are change in schedule. It used to be just tell the kid and it better get home. Now you have to follow up a lot more, and there has to be more communication. And I think when you then have to have more communication, it does lend yourself to more, maybe a parent wanting to have a meeting and ask or talk about issues. And we've had rules that we stick to though, like, all right, number one, you can't mention, if you're gonna talk, you're not going to bring up other kids.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that eliminates a lot though, because generally that's what most parents are going to want to, if they have a complaint, it's usually about playing time, and that's going to involve, well, why is my kid not playing and this kid is? well, we're not going to talk about the other kid. So yes and no. I think definitely it's different.
What do you think, Coach Coy? I mean, from your experience.
Well, I mean, I've been coaching for 15 years. I've only been head coach for 7, but
It's still a long time in today's era.
yeah, and I mean, honestly, in the 7 years I've been head coach, there's really only been a couple of times where a parent has even like kind of questioned me on something. So I really haven't had to deal. I'm knocking on wood here. I really haven't had to deal with much.
Well, I'll get them fired up for you.
Yeah, I haven't had to deal with any like face-to-face meetings, or I mean, there's been emails, there's been text or calls, yes, but it hasn't gotten to that point where I've had to set up a meeting with a parent in the 7 years I've been head coach. Now I've had some phone calls even when I was like a JV basketball coach with some stuff, and and a couple of them were, well, why is so and so playing? My kid's only getting this time, and that's when you just like, well, if that's what we're going to talk about, we got to end the conversation, And then,
Yeah.
and that's like Coach Tompkins said. A lot of times, that's what it turns into. A parent may think their kid's better than the other kid, but you can't discuss that. You discuss about your kid only and what they can do better, or what they need to do to play, and all that. But I'm like dead serious. I know there's been a lot of coaches that have left the coaching profession because of parents. And like Coach Tompkins said, and I grew up in Gibson City, so I know there's a lot of good parents out there. And same here at Comanche, I've had like literally, I know I've said this before on here, but like the parent support has been, out of the world for me, and it's been great so far. So, but as far as like approaching it, or if I get an email or something, first thing I ask is like, well, have you talked to your son yet? And if it's, oh no, then you got to go do that first, and then if what he's saying is kind of same thing you're thinking, then we can talk further. Or I've had to bring up in emails like, oh, well, did you know that your son sat out 2 practices because his knee hurt? And they're like, oh, well, no. Okay. I'm like, well, then that's one of the reasons why he didn't play. Or you asked the son to go in a game, and he says, I don't feel good, or my ankle hurts, or something like that. You don't see enough on a football field. You can't see that interaction from the stands, So, so yeah, it's just like, hey, you have to talk to your kid first, then we'll talk about it. And if you don't like the response or answer, we can set up a meeting, kind of thing. So that's kind of how I approach it. I mean, you gotta, like Coach Tompkins said, you gotta have communication with the parent, kid, and then go from there. So
yeah, and I think in 22 years, I think I've had 5 or 6 like meetings.
Oh, really?
There has been a lot of, so there's not much, but like Doug said, it's a great community, and there's so many parents that are so good,
yeah.
and just enjoy watching their kid play, or enjoy watching their kid be a part of something. But I do think it's the secondary type of communication happens a lot more. I think the more you can communicate early, the easier it does make it with some things. But yeah, it has changed though.
That is crazy that you say only in 22 years, 4 or 5 meetings. Because I went to Clinton, which is a big school, and I can think of every year of multiple kids' parents. Yeah. And they had, and like the coaches. I remember my basketball coach. We had a really good relationship. He'd tell me like, hey, this is between us, but he'd say so-and-so. And it was always his cue, like, make life hell on him in practice. Because it was like, yeah. And when I found out about that, I always thought, are you kidding me, dude? Mm-hmm. You're 17, 18 years old and you're going home crying to your parents. Mm-hmm. Like, go handle it like a pre-adult, and go talk to the coach, whatever. And, and maybe that's because there's more kids in a bigger school, but at the same time, I always thought I would have been so embarrassed to have my mom, to go in and be like, hey, no way. I mean, I wouldn't even be able to show my face at school.
And there's so many horror stories I have heard from other coaches about experience like that. And I've been blessed to not have as many. Like I said, just, every once in a while. But I was the same way, if my parents would have went in, I'd been so embarrassed.
Imagine, hey, Johnny's not playing. It's like, hey man, like, I'm not very good, or this guy's better than me. Like, I'll just keep working at it. And
I do think a lot of kids are still that way. They don't want their parents to get involved, but they're just, and the other part too, I think when it does go south, it does get on social media, and it did, an isolated event at a school now makes it seem like that's happening
right.
a lot of times when in reality, it's probably no more than it used to be.
Right. That's a good point.
Well, and I think too, like, every coach that we've had on here so far, and I know I've said this, like, it's about building relationships with your players and your kids. So if you have a relationship with your team, then those kids are going to come to you first if there's an issue or if they're wondering about playing time. I mean, I've had several players come up to me and be like, "Hey, what can I do to get on the field? What do I need to do? What do I got to do in practice?" And parents have never even been involved. Their parents might not even know that they've came and talked to me, which I think is obviously the best approach for that. And then you're honest with the kid and tell them what they need to do. And even they can do all those things and still maybe not see the field, it's just part of it. But yeah, I think the communication's huge, especially with player to coach first and foremost. So
sure.
Quick comment. Tanner Weber, he said, "Yeah, I didn't agree with that 3rd and 13 call against Northeast this year, Coit." But
I was wondering about that too. I
don't think we had any 3rd and 13 against Northeast this year. But
hey, hello to Jen Letterby too. Jen's listening.
Oh yeah, Jen Letterby.
Yeah, Joe Letterby's little sister.
Yeah.
Well, they're not little kids anymore.
We're not. We're old now. We're pushing 40, and you were a coach.
Yeah, her brother Joe, that was a teammate of yours there.
Yeah, he's 2 years younger than me.
Yeah.
Okay, JP, we're probably going to get in tier talk here, aren't we?
Yeah. We're gonna.
So we'll go, Coach Tompkins. I know you've listened before, but our tier talk is top quarterback receiver duos of all time in the NFL. So we'll
tight ends. We're not including tight ends.
I don't think. Yeah. So then, and then after each person goes, you give one word. Your one word response to their list.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Stendo, you want to go first?
No, you go first.
I go first. Okay.
Yeah, and then Coach T, you go. I'll go last.
All right. So I also sometimes throw some honorable mentions in there, or I like. To
I know you do. Yeah, I know.
So I really have 4. But anyway, this was tough again. All these tier talks have been really good. So my honorable mention is Tom Brady and Randy Moss.
Yeah.
I think this is a duo that doesn't get talked about a lot just because they didn't play. I think they only had like 37 games together or something like that. But they had over 3,000 yards in 37 games, 40 touchdowns in 37 games. The one year, I think it was 23, and Moss broke Rice's record.
Brady threw 50 that year,
and
right?
Brady threw 50.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think was that 18, 17, somewhere around there. Or no, 07, 07, 08.
Yeah, it
was
07.
My bad. Yeah, 07. Yeah. And then, so that's my honorable mention. Number 3 is Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin. So they had, Michael Irvin had 7 seasons with you. He was over 1,000 yards. They had, let's see, I wrote some stats down, 65 touchdowns, almost 12,000 yards receiving, and over 700 receptions. Number
That's
2
of Aikman's stats.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But Irvin was good.
Yes.
Number 2 is Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison. I don't think you could do this list without having them on there. They have the most touchdown passes as a tandem in NFL history, like 112, I believe it is. Close to like 1,000 receptions as well. And then my number 1, I did Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. I was debating Steve Young on this one, but I went Montana just for the fact that they won 2 Super Bowls, and then Steve and Jerry only won 1. But I didn't realize he only
won 2.
Not Steve Young and Jerry Rice didn't.
I think they did.
I think they only won 1. It was like 1995, I think, was the only
94.
94. So maybe 9. Okay, I was thinking of 90. Would that still been Montana?
I think that was Montana.
Okay.
Yeah, Jared, they won 3. Okay. Montana and Rice won 3.
Okay, so they won 3. So anyway, I did that because of the more Super Bowl wins. But still, the stats were good. 67 touchdowns, 6,000 yards, 386 receptions, and some Super Bowl rings in there. So that's my list right there. One word response. Stinda and Coach Tompkins, go.
I'm just gonna say,
Okay.
I'm gonna say familiar.
Oh, okay.
familiar. Okay.
So who's next?
Coach T, you go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna throw some honorable mentions in because I would
Okay.
feel disloyal if I didn't. So let's go Bart Starr and Boyd Dowler. Okay.
You're gonna name all
Wow,
Packers,
you're
aren't
getting
you?
it back.
Aaron
Brett
Rodgers and Greg Jennings. I would say no. Mine is Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson.
Okay.
Jordy's breakout game just happened to be Super Bowl 45.
Oh God.
And they had a great run there. Brett Favre and Antonio Freeman and Sterling Sharp. I think so many overlap, but Sterling Sharp was so good for his short window. And Favre put him, had big years with him early, but then Freeman would be his best. So there's my honorable mentions. But here's my three. So I'll start with the third one. We're going way back. You thought I went back. Revolutionized the position. Arguably, his stat line. He was what Babe Ruth was to home runs in his early part of his career is what Don Hudson was to football receivers. And look up the stats. So Arnie Herber,
Oh my God.
an old Packer. And
What year was this?
It was back in the 40s.
Oh,
30s and 40s.
Taking
You
it
look up-
back.
Yeah, you look up Don Hudson's numbers.
All right, let me look
Compared to
them
the
up.
rest of the league, it's good. So, but then why I said familiar, number 2, Manning to Harrison.
Yep.
And number 1, Montana to Rice. So mine are familiar.
I'm going to say interesting.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah. I'll say great.
Yeah, well,
After the whole Packer list, that was ridiculous. But
not that. You're just thinking
I like Antonio
if
Freeman.
you would have went all Packers, I would have said ridiculous. But
yeah. I know, and I wanted to really bad, but I held off.
Yeah, good call.
I like it.
All right, we'll go Big Ben, AB, Big Ben.
Well,
we
I'm not doing no honorable mention, Coy, here.
Oh, you're not?
It's
All right.
all directions.
All right.
So number 3, I do have Big Ben and AB. They're 6th all time in duo in the NFL history, 78 touchdowns. Like I said, 6th all time. I think the dynamics of when they were playing Ben, Le'Veon Bell, Martavis Bryant, and then obviously AB, I think never won a Super Bowl, obviously. But as far as what they did in a short amount of time, I think, AB and Ben, at one point, if you look back on like a lot of like the First Take with Stephen A and all those guys, they had Ben and AB as the best wide receiver quarterback duo ever that had come up in conversation because of the time they played together when AB actually was playing full time. The stats, I don't have yards down for stats, but 78 touchdowns. I mean, to me, they were impressive. They probably should have got a Super Bowl in there, but hey, it is what it is. They're number 3. Number 2, I got Steve Young and Jerry Rice. They won a Super Bowl. That was, I think you said 90. It was 94,
94,
wasn't it?
95, yeah.
And then, they had 92 touchdown, between those guys. That's with the Montana. I get that quite a few Super Bowls, but Steve Young and Rice together, man, like they were, that's almost 100 TD passes and a Super Bowl win. I mean, hard not to put them there. And then obviously number 1, I don't think you can go past Manning and Marvin Harrison. The interesting stat with them is 114 total touchdowns in their 11 years together. But they actually only hooked up twice in the postseason out of those 114.
And you're not talking a bad postseason quarterback.
No.
That's crazy.
They won obviously that Super Bowl against the Bears in 2007, but they only hooked up twice in the postseason. So regular season, hard not to put them.
How does Wayne? How does Manning Wayne stack up?
That's probably got to be close to top 10, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think they were. Let's see. I know I was looking at earlier, but I'm like, man, the Harrison. Let's see.
Tanner Weber threw out Kurt Warner and Torrey Holt.
Yeah, I think they had like
Yeah.
67 touchdowns together in their time.
They're probably top
Everybody
10.
forgets about Isaac Bruce, though.
Isaac Bruce.
Isaac Bruce.
Yeah, he was good.
Greatest show on turf.
Yeah. And
Not finding nothing on that. I don't know why I can't find it. I don't know what they have, but yeah, him and Reggie Wayne were a
Yeah.
pretty. I
it's
mean,
like 1A and 1B, right?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
But Harrison, he was the guy.
he was a stud.
Yeah.
I mean, and to do that 11 years, I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, when I saw that the postseason stat, I was like, man, that's, you don't think that, but I mean, 11 years, 112 touchdown regular season, that's pretty impressive.
to be able to do that, and everybody knows where the ball is going.
Yeah.
And I left one off my honorable mention. I mean, obviously Rodgers to Adams, because that was what was so impressive. Is you still got the ball to him so much, even though everybody knew that was where the ball was going.
Yeah.
That takes a lot with chemistry. And then I like the back stuff about how much, what Peyton Manning drove to who they draft, and he was finishing up his degree, and Manning drove like 3 hours once a week to do reps because they had drafted this receiver. It's one of the young guys when they were bringing him in. Just the dedication to that time that Manning put in with those guys. He number one slot's very deserved.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and Harrison, he could run any route. Like he wasn't just like a deep ball guy, or I mean, he'd catch balls over the middle, and he was good.
Well, that's it. And do you guys think like now, like when like some of those wide receivers now, they can't move them around as much. Like I felt like back in the day, they could play, like you said, they could catch over the middle. They could maybe come from the slot. Like now you kind of just see like George Pickens for the Steelers. I use that. He's strictly on the outside. He's not, I've seen him the 2 times go across the middle. He gives up on the ball because he doesn't want to get hit. Like back then, those guys like took those shots and they're like, line me up in the slot.
It was a different type of shot they were taking too.
Yeah.
There's a lot more allowed, obviously.
And Harrison wasn't a big guy. Like he took shot after shot and just get back up.
And his demeanor was fun too, because I remember, and I've said this a lot to people, some psychological study was done in the 1970s about in professional sports, the wide receiver position is going to be the most difficult position to handle. Because I'm always open. Why am I not getting the ball? And look at all the problems are usually stemming from, look at the mentalities of Terrell Owens and those types. It's always the problem, and Antonio Brown. But Marvin Harrison was very quiet.
Yep.
Did his thing. He probably you would never guess that he only had 2 because he also never complained about it.
Right.
2 touchdowns in the postseason. He wasn't whining about not getting the ball, down the stretch in the AFC Championship or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's why you appreciate that too.
They want it like now, like AB's problem was, and then you use some of those guys now is they like TO. They just think they should get the ball every single time.
Every time.
And they more say like Antonio Brown was the worst. I don't think he really cared about winning. He just wanted the accolades. Yeah. He is I still think he's one of the greatest, even though the head case at the last couple of years. But yeah, you didn't really want to win because, like I said, Marvin Harrison would give up those 8 catches for $120 for a Super Bowl or for a win. Mm-hmm. I don't think Antonio Brown is giving that up. Yeah. He wants those stats, and that's ultimately why he, once he left Pitt, he couldn't stay on a team for more than 6 games.
Sure.
Yeah.
Waste.
All right, my one word would be best. I think winner. Best one.
Yeah.
Stendas?
Yeah.
I was gonna say predictable.
Okay. What are you talking about?
There's that one Steeler on there.
I knew you were gonna have a Steeler on there.
How can you okay, they're 6th all time. They're ahead of Devontae. I looked at the list today. Out of the top 10.
I believe it.
Okay. Well, the stats don't lie, my man.
I don't have to get
I'm not lying to you.
I know. I just said it was predictable.
I didn't say, Rex Grossman and some receiver from 2007, just because I'm a Bears.
Wild teams.
I'll take it. That's fine, man. I appreciate that.
No, it was okay. All right. So Stina, you got anything else for Coach Tompkins before we sign off here?
No, I just appreciate you coming on. This was,
Yep.
I had fun.
Sorry it took you long. I probably kept you on here longer than you wanted to be, but
No,
we're
not
good.
at
a little
all.
long-winded.
We've been
I
rolling
love it. I
about
love
an
just
hour
being
and a
able to
half.
freelance it.
Yeah, that's. If you've been in my classroom, you know we might start talking about budgeting, and end up talking about the conspiracy of us not landing on the moon. So it goes different ways
Yeah.
every day.
I've been in
Did we
I
land
was
on the
in that
moon or
class.
no?
We did. Come on.
I don't know.
Come on. No,
We landed on the moon.
We did.
I don't know, man.
We
Okay.
did. Yeah,
Jim
come
Carrey said in
on.
Dumb and
Come
Dumber.
on, man. You're gonna get me.
The
Yeah.
Dumb and Dumber.
No,
We landed on the moon. All right. Well, we will wrap it up here. To our listeners, we will be back next week, same time, episode number 9, with another guest. We'll announce that on our social media accounts as we go through the week. Also, listeners, if you haven't bought a shirt yet and you want a shirt, please let either me or Jeremy Stenda know. We can hook you up. But
I
thanks to
almost wore my Comanche playoff shirt
Wow.
from
Ooh.
years
Should've
ago.
done
I
that.
should have. I
Should've
have
done
that.
that.
And it's still in the rotation.
Oh, nice.
It is the only non-GCMS high school
Really?
piece of apparel I have. Yeah. Oh yeah. That I
Wow.
wear.
That's awesome.
Because
That
I can
says a lot
proudly
about you,
say,
Corey.
Yeah.
you know, you'll see a kid, I get a little, and I know that you see a kid walk around, they got a, Paxton shirt on or a Ridgeview
Yeah.
shirt at school. And it's like, oh, why are you doing that? But
No, I
don't
will.
listen, but I'll break that one out every once in a while.
Nice. I will say before we go off here, Coach Tompkins, and we actually were talking about this on our guys trip this weekend because I told him that you're going to be on the podcast, and you are the best of like sending text to us about like our kid's birthday. You're like, oh, happy birthday, Knox, and I'm like,
Yeah. Hey.
you're, like this was my coach 20 some years ago, and he's still doing this, and.
Well,
Even you're sending out even for my stepdaughters, and I'm like, gosh, it's
I
awesome.
got a lot of time on my hands, and don't
Yeah.
now that you said that, now it's out there. My kids are gonna be like, wait, is my own children?
Yeah.
We're like, wait a second, where's
Did you
mine?
forget their birthdays?
And my siblings, yeah.
Oh,
So no, it's a lot of good people, and I like keeping in touch. So
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah,
but thanks for having me
appreciate
on. This was
yeah,
fun.
no problem. Yep. We will. We're signing off. Hope everyone has a good night, and we'll talk to you later.
We'll see
Peace.
y'all. Take care.